We're beginning our day by going to the fresh fruit market. Watch your step in Lisbon because these streets are not even. There's a lot of bumps and uneven tiles. A lot of garbage too. We're at Atlantica Cafeteria and we're having lunch, and we have fish bread over bread with these sardines paste. We have fish.
Fish
and you have what? What do you have?
Fado.
And potatoes. Salad. We are going to the Braxa Market. We just took a metro. This is Mercado Baiza in Lisbon. Lots of food and clothing, wine, but mostly for tourists. We're going to Campo de Orique Market. Waiting for the bus or tram.
12.
Yeah, we want 20. So we got up here to go to the market. Here's the market. Mercado de Campo de Orique.
Tavern, alcohol, right? So I hope you all like a little drink because we're going to be drinking plenty during the tour to help with the hills. Okay, whoever doesn't like to drink, you don't have to. You can drink water, Coca-Cola, whatever you want. Okay, it's okay for me too. And yes, and that's it. So before we go, I would like only to know your names and where you come from. Now we're going to walk a little bit. You're going to stop hearing my voice for your God's sake a little bit, and then I'll start to fill up your ears again. Whenever I say the word fado, what is the first word that comes to your mind? Saudade. Very good, very good. So guys, first of all, the first thing everyone always says, sad. Guys, Fado, it's not only a sad song. It has sad songs, like all other kinds of music, but it's not sad, okay? Fado is based on three main fados. Fado menor, which is in a minor tone, so of course it's a ballad. Fado maior, which is in a higher tone, so it might have even a sad lyric, but it's always a cheerier song. And Fado corrido. Corrido, it's the running fado. Okay, so the faster you play it, the best. And we say to the guitarist, push it, play it. The faster you go, the better. Okay, so whenever you go to a fado place, comes one fado singer, sings like 3 fados, then they take a little break for the guitarist, and then comes another fado singer that sings another 3. And each time a fado singer goes to sing, it has to sing one of these 3. So no, you're not going to be continuously crying. Okay. So that's the first thing. We talk about emotional. Yes. So guys, the thing is that fado, it's really intense. Either if it's a happy song or if it's a sad song. So it's not sad, it's intense. You understand? Yes? Okay. So for us to talk a little bit about fado, we need to talk about how fado started. Okay? First of all, fado was brought up in Lisbon, although I guess that lots of people think that fado it's the music from Portugal, right?
No, Brazil.
Sorry.
Brazil.
Brazil?
No.
Nah.
Why is that?
It's samba.
No, okay. It might have come from Brazil, but please do never say that to a Portuguese person. No, I'm okay. I live in Brazil. I have a little thing here from Brazil. It's okay. I'm kind of Brazilian, but no.
Sorry.
Lots of people also think it comes from flamenco or tango, right? No. Okay, so Fado comes from Portugal. And Fado is the music from Lisbon. So it was brought up in Lisbon. Okay? It's not the music of Portugal. It gained this title first because in the time of the dictatorship, our dictator is going to say that from now on, Fado is the new national song. So, of course, it gains a national title. And then, because we won the UNESCO heritage. But we have lots of other types of beautiful types of songs in Portugal. So it's a song about Lisbon, okay? It was brought up in Lisbon, and in the beginning was the way for people to tell their story. You know, a little bit like rap, that people tell a little bit about it. So it was basically that. We have the 3 traditional fados, these 3 that I told you about, that don't have a refrain. Okay, so basically it's just quadras soltas. So it's just poems, empty poems, that you can change the lyrics with it. So whenever you go to Fado, for example, whenever I go to sing Fado, sometimes I never met those musicians in my life, but I'm going to play with them because I'll say, okay, I want to sing Fado corrido in the tone La. And then the same night can come another girl after me and sing Fado corrido in the tone Do with a different lyric from what I did. So back in the time we had these 3 fados that were always little quarters so that people could fulfill them telling their story. Why is Fado said in the lyrics? Because Fado was brought up in Lisbon during the 18th century. And I can tell you that during the 18th century, we lived really badly in Portugal. Okay, we just had the earthquake, and our monarchy was going really bad, and we had nothing to eat, and we just had the wars with Napoleon, and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, that if Fado was a song that showed the way how people live, it was almost like a biography of the people, of course, that the lyrics are going to be kind of tragic, because people's life back in the time were kind of tragic, okay? But that's it. Well, guys, what you need to know is that back in time, all of Lisbon was a gigantic old neighborhood, okay? That was destroyed by the earthquake of 1755. So what's going to happen is that from that moment on, these are the only neighborhoods that are going to be standing up. And we're going to have basically, instead of the Portuguese people thinking, oh, the only old neighborhoods, let's take care of them, let's maintain them because they have our history with the Moorish and the Romans. No, they're going to think, oh, those old things. Let them fall so we can keep on building the new modern Lisbon of Marquês de Pombal. And what means is that these people of this neighborhood are going to be completely forgotten by the system, poorer and poorer, because majority of them also were like fishermen, shoe fixers, knife sharpers. So also comes at this time the Industrial Revolution. So the kind of professions that these people have are going to start losing the importance, okay? And it's exactly in this environment that Fado is going to be brought up. And this is the only thing that Fado, Tango, and Flamenco have in common. Have you noticed that all of them come from harbor cities? Andalusia, Buenos Aires, and Lisbon. Okay? People at the same timing, at these places where life was very, very hard for the people who lived in this kind of places. Okay? So this is the only thing. The Fado comes from the Portuguese guitar, that comes from the English guitar. So it has nothing to do either with tango and flamenco, that comes from the gypsies, or from Brazil. So in the beginning, it was from the Portuguese guitar. That's the beginning of all, okay? And we're going to see some images that are going to help us form a set for our next story, which is going to be the story of the first Fado singer of all, called Maria Severa. So guys, as you can see, Portugal is poor, very, very poor, more poor. And there are 3 main characters in our story. Fishermen, lots of fishermen in Lisbon. Fishermen were married to varinas. My grandmother still was a varina. So this woman that used to carry this basket of fruits, fish, and vegetables in their heads when we still didn't have supermarkets, okay? And sexy sailors. Usually we have an image of a sexy sailor. We don't anymore. But while you can imagine a sexy sailor, it's going to be really important too. And we're going to see the face of this woman a lot. She's called Amália Rodrigues, and she's the biggest Fado singer of all. She's like our Callas, okay? And we're going to talk a little bit about her also during the tour, okay? Moriria, the crib of Fado. Over here we have a Portuguese guitar. You can already see that it is different, not only because of the shape that it has, but also because it has 12 strings, so 6 double strings. And usually it has a tier, either in the middle on the top because we say that when the guitar plays, the guitar cries. Chora guitar, cry guitar. We always say this. Although it's not only sad music. And then over there you're going to see Rua do Capelão, Capelão Street, matriz and symbol of Morelia. Okay, and basically on this street, Rua do Capelão, lived Maria Severa. Okay, but for me to tell you the story of Maria Severa, I need to explain you why Fado was started to be sung by the prostitutes. Back in the time, prostitution was legal in Portugal. This ended up later on with our dictator. And what's going to happen is that, so basically, life here was pretty hard, like I told you. So while we have the first generation of people that are really humble, hardworking people, you know, very good, struggling with their life, the second generation is not going to be like that anymore so much. They're like, man, if the government doesn't care about us, we're not going to care about the government, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to be good citizens. What for if anyone cares about us? So they started to look for easier ways, let's say like this, to be able to make their lives. And there's a business that has always been really good here in Portugal. You know, we have a river, it's called Tejo River, and Lisbon really is connected to the river. Our life has always been around the river, and Lisbon comes from the name Alisobuna. I was saying, they started to open lots of taverns. They started to see that it was an amazing business to open a tavern and a bordel on the top floor. This was amazing, perfect, good and clean. And actually, majority of the time, these businesses were family business, where the men used to prostitute their own daughters. This isn't as bad as it looks, because guys, these women in here had a horrible, horrible life, and they were really always expecting and dreaming of an amazing sailor that would come and change their life. I mean, who was the image of the sailor back in the time? It was this amazing man, very tan, very beautiful, coming from all over the world, trying to find the girl that would make him one established town. And they saw this man as maybe a passport to be able to get out of this to a better life. Okay, so majority of them were like, hey sailor, on the doors and everything, and they all came together in these taverns, drinking a lot, of course, and each one of these people have an amazing history. Doesn't matter if you were a knife sharper, if you were a verina, if you were a prostitute or a sailor, all of them had one thing in common: their tragic lives. So all of them got together in the taverns to drink, to forget a little bit about it, and to share their stories. So the sailor starts to bring the guitars, and the prostitutes start to be like the mermaids, the women that would sing to them, sing their love stories, trying to keep their image, okay? And Maria Severa was one of these ladies, okay? Maria Severa was different from the other kind of prostitutes and fado singers that we had. Why? Because not only she sang really well, she also played the Portuguese guitar. This image that you see is a frame from a movie, which was the first sounded movie of Portugal. The first movie that we had that actually had sound was The Story. And here, Amalia explained the role of Maria Severa, okay? As you can see, she has some kind of funny outfit, right? It's because Maria Severa was half gypsy. Her dad was half gypsy, okay? So she always carried this kind of outfits. But like I told you, she was really known, not so much because of that, but also because she played and sang at the same time. I can tell you that in our days, there are lots of fado singers that can play the classical guitar and sing at the same time, but there are almost no fado singers that can play the Portuguese one and sing at the same time. Fado is played with two main instruments, the Portuguese guitar and the classical one. The classical guitar makes the beat, okay? And the Portuguese guitar improvises the melody. Guys, the hardest thing in a fado singer in our days is not how good you sing, it's not the best note you can hit, is how differently you can sing a fado that has been sung hundreds and hundreds of times before.
This is the house where she lived.
Over there on the wall. Over there we have another reference of Maria Severa. As you can see, there's lots of illustrations. We all imagine how she would be, because actually we don't know how she was, but we always try to imagine. Guys, Maria Severa, like I told you, was an amazing lady. She sang really well. She played the Portuguese guitar. And one day, she was in the tavern singing, and a beautiful man shows up. He was a really beautiful, tall, handsome man. He was called Francisco, but he was known as the Vimioso Count. He looks at Maria. Maria looks at him and crazy love. You know, they got crazy in love for each other. and they were together for a long time. What happens is that, of course, in the beginning it was kind of hard because, I mean, she was a prostitute, he was a count, blah, 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 we already know. But the count really never cared about that. So what happens is that, guys, back in the time, Fado, although it was a beautiful song, it was only the song of the prostitutes. It was the song of the poor people. So although the great musicians that played outside already knew about its existence, it's like, I'm not going to put myself in a position that I need to go to those filthy places to hear the song of the prostitutes. So this love affair is going to make that the Vimioso Count is going to start taking Maria and her guitar to all of the big events, to all of the international encounters, to the bullfights, to the parties in the palaces, and everyone's going to know about Fado. And basically we have 3 big areas of expansion of Fado, and this is going to be the first one. The moment where the Fado gets out of the old neighborhoods to be spread all over the city of Lisbon, okay? They were there, amazing, playing Fado everywhere, gorgeous, and suddenly the oldest brother of the Vimioso Count dies in a horse accident, which means that he's the only direct heir to the title of his family. And do you think that a count can marry a prostitute? No, right? Their parents were really open-minded. They're like, look, it's okay, we understand. You love her. No, I really love her. I know, we know. So it's like this, look, you can stay with her, no problem. We will understand. We'll keep on talking to you. We'll just take away your money, your title, your clothes, your house, everything you have, everything you own. Or you can choose to be with us. Your family raised you, gave you everything, and keep up with the name of your family that has been coming for centuries and centuries, and not letting it die because of some random woman. But we'll understand if you don't want to stay with us. This kind of good, healthy pressure, you know? So basically, as you can imagine, guys, in the beginning of the 1800s, the title of your family was something very, very big for yourself. And the Vimioso Count decides to stay with the family to let go of Maria. So they were together for more or less 7 years. He bought her this house that in nowadays is an amazing Fado house. But still, she could not deal with the pain. She converts the house where she used to live with him, you know, going to a bordel. She gets really crazy, like going with men every day and every day, everything to try to maintain her life. And she dies at 26 years of age, alone of tuberculosis with a client. So it's like, okay. Yeah, she was so poor that she was buried in a common tomb with more than 30 bodies. That we don't even know where she's buried nowadays. But well, guys, at least now she's dead, but she's a vedetta. Okay, well, we need to see the good, positive part of it. So in our days, for us, Maria Severa is the queen of Moreria. So in our neighborhood, of course, she's very, very important. Okay, guys, you can come here together. Gin. Go.
First drink.
Okay, I need one.
What's it called?
First,
Gin.
Fado drink.
In Portugal? No, it's either chin-chin, or saúde. Saúde. Very good. Saúde. Chin-chin. So guys, him and Amalia are from the same generation. We're going to talk about Amalia and we're going to see how Fado developed through the dictatorship time, which is basically the 40s and the 50s. And Fado became like a show. And Fernando always really fought for Fado to be played in the Fado houses, to be heard live. Tá estranho. Ah, pronto. Agora do jeitinho. Beijinho, era só pra dizer olá. Até já. There you go. So, the first Fado I'm going to sing to you, it's called O Que Foi Que Aconteceu. It's one of the first Fados I've learned. It's beautiful. It's not a super traditional one, but still is beautiful. And it really reminds me of the story of Maria Severa. So I'm going to translate you the poem so you can understand more or less what I'm going to sing to you, okay? It just happened. I was not waiting for you. And you didn't knew me, didn't even knew who I was. I was there just because I had to be, and you crossed just because you had to cross. When I saw you, my whole world stopped. And at that moment, all of my life changed. Everything was supposed to be eternal, and you, forever mine. What happened after all? Where did we lost ourselves? Everything was supposed to be eternal, and you, forever mine. What happened after all? What happened? Guys, I've done another tour in the morning, so my voice is not like, don't expect Maria Callas, because I'm going to do the best I can. Okay. Aconteceu, eu não estava à tua espera e tu não me procuravas, nem sabias quem eu era. Eu estava ali só porque tinha que estar. E tu chegaste porque tinhas que chegar. Olhei para ti, o mundo inteiro parou. Nesse instante a minha vida mudou. Tudo era para ser eterno e tu para sempre meu. Onde foi que nos perdemos? O que foi que aconteceu? Tudo era para ser eterno e tu para sempre meu. Onde foi que nos perdemos, meu amor, meu amor? O que foi que aconteceu? The Church of Graça, it's one of the neighborhood of Graça. It's the neighborhood that has the most beautiful views here in Portugal, here in Lisbon, okay?
It's an illegal Chinese restaurant.
Oh, they are really good and the place for you to finish your day. Super romantic. Really, believe me.
Elevators?
I already gave lots of kisses there. No, but you can get a taxi. It's really cheap, actually.
Oh, okay.
From the place we're going to finish is around €5.
Okay.
So sharing by two €2.50, and you're in the best place to see a view and kiss each other. We're going to talk a little bit about Amalia Rodrigues, that lady I told you. And we're going to talk about the dictatorship time at the same time. Why? Because through her life, we're going to be able to explain how people live during the dictatorship. Okay? So guys, right now we are in that moment that we talked about Maria Sfera, prostitutes, sailors, blah blah blah. And suddenly in the 30s, Fado was finally starting to be really famous all over the city. So everyone was listening to Fado. But that's when our dictatorship starts. And lots of people think, oh yes, Salazar loved Fado because there was so much Fado during the dictatorship. It's a lie. This dress is too short for this, but it's a lie. Salazar said that Fado made Portuguese people apathic, only crying about their problems and not doing anything about them. That's just being Portuguese. You didn't understand that. So the thing is that he was already cutting so many things out in terms of culture and arts from the people that he didn't want to do the same thing to Fado. So he said, okay, so if you really want Fado, I'm going to leave Fado to be. From now on, Fado is going to exist on my terms. So what did he do? Guys, like I told you, Moreria was an Alfama, were the neighborhoods of that fame. So at this point, Moreria was definitely the worst. It was like Ghetto, like really bad place. And remember the place where we started the tour with the church that I told you? That church, all of that square, which is called the Square of Martim Muniz, used to be the continuation of Moreria. And it was an old neighborhood with more than 500 years that our dictator destroyed that region. Why? Because it was the most complicated place with the most complicated people, lots of drugs, lots of things. So he destroyed all the neighborhood. And he said, he closed all of the taverns. He said, from now on, Fado is going to only be played in Fado houses in Alfama. Man, this was very complicated. I don't know if you know where we are. Uma casa portuguesa fica bem, com vinho sobre a mesa, sabor do presente bate alguém, fica bem esta franqueza, fica bem, que o povo nunca desmente, que a alegria da pobreza está nesta grande riqueza. dar e ficar contente. In a good Portuguese house, it was good to have wine and bread on the table. This beautiful artwork, this is done by Vils. Vils is the biggest urban artist of Portugal. And when people ask him, like, why did you did, because usually he makes the face of people craft into the stone in gigantic buildings. So when he was asked to do something about Amalia, we thought he was going to make a gigantic building, and he didn't. From a long time, I looked for something that would justify why he did this so simple, so small. And I found an interview in internet. So it's from a random urban artist website. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm going to pass it on to you because it makes sense to me. Amalia, like I told you, her whole life struggled with the paparazzi. So at the certain point in her life, she was losing her voice. And people would say that she would start to cry hysterically in the end of the concert because the applauses are going to be over. And she says, who is Amalia now? Right? In the end of her career, she also started to write amazing poems. And the last 3 albums, if I'm not mistaken, of her life are all done with her own poems, with her own songs. They all talk about how much she missed the Amalia that she used to be. And so she always said that maybe I should have become just a normal fado singer, just a normal old lady that now could sit on the bench watching life go by. But she also said that there are not enough tears for me to cry in the world, my whole pain. She always said that for you to sing fado, you need to bring the pain in your senses. How did we come to the fado that we have today? So, I can tell you one thing. Now we talked about Amalia to explain you how fado during the dictatorship was, and now we're going to talk about myself for you to understand how fado was during my generation. So my grandmother, by my father's side, was a fado singer, and I hated to go see my grandmother sing because it was so badly seen that I had a fado singer in my family. I remember when I went to school, my mom said, you can never tell anyone that your grandmother is a fado singer because people will think we're crazy, will think we're a fascist, will think we're trying to make you kind of a crazy person. And I remember my grandmother, unfortunately, my grandfather still had that prejudice that proper women could not sing fado at night because she was married. So although she had an amazing voice, she only could sing in really bad places during lunchtime. And I remember her trying to sell her CDs, and I would go with no teeth still, do you want to buy my Granny's CD and everything? So I always had this really bad image of fado. And I always thought how a bad life my grandmother has, what a bad life is fado for. Okay, so when I started to grow up, basically what happens is that I go away, immigrated, when I finished my graduation because things here in Portugal were very complicated. It was plain crisis. But since the beginning of the 2000s, the end of the 90s, some pop artists were starting to make some tributes to fado again. Todos nós temos Amália na voz e temos na sua voz a voz de todos nós. All of us have Amalia in our voice, and we have in her voice the voice of all of us. You cheira bem?
Cheira bem.
Cheira Lisboa.
Cheira Lisboa.
Which means smells good, smells like Lisbon. There you go. You did not? Did you? No? Okay, we're going to pass here. You did.
So how much is it?
$1.50 each.
Okay.
So guys, it's good.
I like that package.
I like uma rosa florina tapada, cheira bem, cheira Lisboa, e a fragata que se ergue na proa, e a varina que teima em passar. Para o sofrimento, bom remédio afinal, é cantar e no momento, ninguém se lembra do mal. Não custa mesmo nada, basta fazer como eu, uma guitarra afinada. Se me atormenta a saudade, canto fado. Por uma esperança perdida, não passo perdida por um mau bocado. Se a casa só nos esqueceu a fazer como eu. So before we start with the tips, I need to take you a picture. because I need to send it to my boss, so my boss can count how many people I have, because I need to pay. So here we only receive the.
We're eating at this chicken restaurant. Pretty cool chicken. Good. So this is the chicken place we ate at.
The chicken place. Is what's good.
And we're going to take a bus home.